But Walter Brown came to a chess tournament in Ohio, in Columbus, and I think we played in the second or third round. He was obviously the highest rated player, but I think he might have drawn a game or something. I don't think we played on board one. I'm not really sure. But we were playing, and Walter had the white pieces, and I had the black pieces, which was a little scary for me because I knew that the opening I played that I relied upon the most against the queen pawn was the modern Benoni defense. And among chess players in the United States, the best chess player who knew the most about that, who wrote the most articles about it, annotated the most important games, played the most important games against leading chess players all over the world, including, Anatoly Karpov, the world champion. That person was Walter Brown. So I was going to have to play, you know, I wasn't going to have to, but here I was faced with the prospect of playing my favorite defense, which is terribly risky, basically is unsound. It's basically just a big bluff almost, because in this opening, black, instead of trying to consolidate and protect and be safe, which is usually what most players do with the black pieces, because they're at a disadvantage. White gets to move first, and right away it gets a bit of an initiative. But in the Benoni, what the black player does is just create complex challenges right from the very beginning, and throw the game into that area which demands sharp calculation and imagination and a combinational gift. It's not a game really about technique and preserving small advantages. It's just wild. It is open battle. It is very dangerous for both sides, and not many games in the Benoni end in draws. It's you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But black can get away with it in practical terms, although not theoretical terms. If players had an unlimited amount of time, white would always win in that opening because black's just got too many holes in his position. It's just taking too many risks. And given enough time, a white player can solve all these problems and figure out, the holes in black's idea. That's why, the modern Benoni is not really played very much in the very top levels of chess. But over the board, between players of, master strength or below, uh, uh, it's very difficult for the player of the white pieces to solve all these problems over the board because the problems are so complex. The issues and the calculations are just, enormous. But nobody knew more about that than Walter Brown. And here I was black. And I knew that Walter Brown, I'd seen 100 of his games. I knew that he played the queen pawn, opened with the queen pawn with the white pieces. So I accepted the challenge. That's what he did. He played pawn to queen 4, and I started playing the modern Benoni. And we came to a point where we were in the modern Benoni, but I had just moved my king pawn from the 7th rank to the 6th and prepared. This is very standard. It's part of the Benoni where you exchange your king pawn for his queen pawn and create an unbalanced pawn structure. So I had done that, and in preparation for my exchange of pawns, Walter had started to maneuver one of his knights around to the queen side, from the king side to the queen side, to achieve an ideal blockading position and put pressure on a weak spot. He was preparing in advance for what I was going to do. And this was book. It wasn't, a lot of players did this in this particular position. So I was looking at this position, and I just knew that if I went ahead and played the normal move, and we were arrived at this standard position, which Walter Brown had analyzed his whole life and was probably the leading American expert on, that practically speaking, I didn't have a prayer. So I just, on the spur of the moment, had this idea. If instead of exchanging my king pawn for his queen pawn, I move my king pawn again, really wasting a move because I could have moved the two squares the first time I touched it. But if I did this, I would send the game into some different channel. And change the character of the position a very great deal. Instead of being like an open game, by moving my king pawn again, it would close the position and make it a very different game. And it occurred to me that that's not really the kind of position that Walter Brown likes to play.